This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform where you can create your own website. Now the floor of this apartment is really not that old. So why would I want to rip the entire thing up and basically redo all of this work? Well, to start with, I've got a couple of pretty big holes in here. And I'm not sure about you, I don't really want those in my floor in my new apartment. I mean, old apartment. Now in case you're new here, welcome to this episode of this renovation series where we're turning this apartment in an over 130-year-old building in the heart of Oslo into our dream home. Now in the previous episodes, you've seen a whole lot of tearing down of this place. We've basically ripped everything back to bare bones, and the reason for all of these super weird holes all the way throughout this apartment is because there used to be a couple of walls here. This apartment used to be a rental apartment with 5 individual tiny bedrooms. We've now removed all those walls to make a big open living room and kitchen, and we're now left with these holes. Now they built this floor because this building is really crooked. The main road is on that side, so over the last 130 years, this whole building has settled like this. So that corner is about 20 centimeters lower than that corner. Now overall, they've done a really good job. All the floors in here are level. But when they built this thing, they didn't really care about how high the floor ended up being. They just wanted to make it flat. And the result of that is that there's a pretty big gap to the subfloor underneath here. Now, I seem to value ceiling height more than I value my time. So I'm gonna rip all of this up and redo the entire process, just lowering all of this 10 centimeters. And then of course in the process also fixing these gaps. Because by lowering the whole thing about 10 centimeters, I can get rid of this step that they've created when they level that floor. And at the same time, I can use that opportunity to also level this floor. Now this is actually the 130-year-old original floor, which yes, I'm gonna rip all of this off. Some of you are probably not gonna like that, but none of the pieces are that long. It's pretty worn and I just don't see myself being able to use it for anything useful. There's a lot of really cool stuff that I find in the floor here. Once I'm done with all of this, we'll do a quick recap of all the cool things I've found. Looking at what this looks like right now, it's kind of hard to believe that we're supposed to live here in just like a few months. So as you can see, all the floor is gone. That's now currently over there. We've cleaned up a little bit to the best of our abilities. Over here where the bathroom used to be, we've done a little bit of digging. This section in between the beams, I've completely removed all the dirt to get access to the drain, because of course we'll need to connect to that with the new shower drain. And man, the amount of dirt that was just in this little area is insane. Now, what did I do with that dirt? Yep, you guessed it. Just put it anywhere else. It's all dirt. So I just took the buckets, poured them out on here, spread it out. There's plenty of space on top of here anyways. Also, some of you were worried in the last episode that I just took the old dirt that fell down from the ceiling in the living room and just put it back into the floor. As you can see, the floor is literally tons and tons of this stuff. It's just dirt. It's not flammable. When they built this stuff, it used to be a lot more moist, so they packed it in like clay. It's just dried up over the last 130 years. Also, another really interesting thing that I found when digging up the hole from the drain here, just look at the size of these beams. They're like a solid 25 centimeters tall. And in case you're curious, they're about 18 centimeters wide. All right, now apart from an ever-growing collection of random nails that I pulled up from the floor, we found a couple of really cool things. Starting off with the clothing pin. Now, keep in mind, all of these things are probably like 130 years old, because I don't really think anyone has torn apart this much of this apartment since it was built. We also got a little button and a soda cap from Nora Brus. So Nora Soda in Oslo. Speed mixed cigarettes. I think this is an old cigarette pack. A tin can of insulating tape. It lasts. Sadly, there was nothing in it. And then we've also found a couple of alcohol-related things. So the top of a wine bottle, the cork of probably a wine bottle, it says Oslo on it, and a beer bottle cap from Frydenlund Brewery, which is literally just like a kilometer away from here. Now, so the story is that the workers back in those days used to drink quite heavily, and especially the bricklayers and house builders of that time. So finding all these alcohol-related things kind of makes sense. Now, I feel like that also explains, at least to some degree, why the quality of bricklaying here is, let's call it, varied. In some places it looks quite okay, but in other places it's kind of rough. But I mean, who can really blame them? They were probably not getting paid a whole lot, and this is back-breaking work. All right, now what's the next step? Basically, this area is done, ready to start rebuilding. But before we do that, I want to make sure that we'll be able to get the same height in the whole apartment. That means taking a closer look of what's underneath here. Because if I want to be able to lower this, I need to make sure that there's enough space underneath. It really is kind of annoying that the floor here doesn't want to come up in one piece, because I literally have to just throw away that stuff, buy the same exact thing just in full sheets and carry it all up again. Now we've got some good news, because I've just checked whether or not we have enough space to lower the floor here. Looks like we have plenty. The highest spot is this beam right by the entrance, and I've got about 12-13 centimeter. That means the floor in the entire apartment can be perfectly flat. Look at the bright side. You get a bunch of free screws. By the way, while I'm doing all this, Vilda's got her own little project over there. Let me tell you why. But first, a quick ad for today's sponsor, Squarespace. So when I'm not renovating old apartments, I make and design things such as 3D printed boxes or pieces of furniture. And I sell the plans and 3D files for those on my website. A website which I designed using Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your business online. Squarespace enabled me to super quickly and easily create my own website. It's really easy to set up. You don't need to have any technical knowledge. Just choose from any of their award-winning templates and get started creating your own website right away. Squarespace has the tools you need to get your business off the ground, including e-commerce templates, inventory management, a simple checkout process, and secure payments. On my website, I sell everything from build plans to 3D files. But whatever you want to sell, Squarespace has the merchandising features to make your products look their best online. There's also no limit to how many products you can list on your site. So I'm not only able to sell the 3D files and plans from my project, but also give away a bunch of free 3D files that you can check out on my website. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, head to squarespace.com/ALCH for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Alright, so as you might remember from the first episode, we've uncovered a brick wall on that side. Now the plan is to have a bit of brick wall exposed right there, and in the corner over there. Only problem is, currently, the brick wall in the corner here is covered by a pretty thick wet layer of plaster. So Vilda's gonna get the fun job of trying to remove that from the bricks. So the next couple hours, I'm gonna try and tear up as much of this flooring as I can, and then I need to run to the hardware store to pick up some construction materials so that we can make a new and flat floor. I'm also gonna get a bunch of floorboards, which are literally the same ones that I'm ripping up here. Such a shame that I can't use them again because they're all glued. Oh, almost done tearing down. I'm telling you, almost, so close. Oh. All right, all the wood is on the car, the floor's on the trailer. All right, all strapped, ready to go. Almost done, so close. This one is doing a great job. Alright, after a monster effort from both Milda and her brothers, all the stuff is finally in the apartment. Now that means that, well, we need to start on that. Now the first part in that process is to figure out what our new floor height is gonna be. And to do that, I've placed my cross-line laser right here, and I've sort of dug it a little bit into the ground until the laser line now is at the sort of lowest point I could possibly build this floor. And it just so happens that the lowest point is right here. So these two beams over in the bedroom corner are the two lowest ones. That way I know that if I build the structure at that height, I get the floor as low as possible. So while Will has been digging this little ditch here in our floor, I've been cutting these boards to length, and it should now be a pretty simple process of just aligning these to the height of the laser, attaching them, and we'll have our first board of many. You already really start to see the difference in height of the floor by how much these sink into the floor here as opposed to on the other side. This one I couldn't actually get far enough down because it hit some of the structure underneath. So I'm just gonna use a little planer to get it perfectly flat. Perfect. All right, so I'm about halfway through the room now. I've now gotten to a point where the 2x6s are too tall, so I have to cut a fair bit off the bottom of them. So I'll just continue the process, but I'll move to 2x4s with the amount of screws I'm attaching these with and all the other bracing. That's gonna be plenty strong enough. I've moved the laser and I'm gonna start in the other corner and then work my way up to the center here again. All right, we're making pretty good progress. We're done with all the main beams in the floor. So now all of those have two boards attached to them and all of those should be flat and level. Now in addition to that, I've started adding these braces. Now these are really just for support so that the joints of the floorboards end up over a place where it's actually supported. I've also added some additional bracing over here at the end where the last, a bit thinner strip of floorboard is gonna get, just so that the floor is properly supported. And what I'm currently doing is just making sure that the floor will be properly supported all the way around towards the walls. So I've added a bunch of blocks and made sure that all of that is properly flat. I've also added in this long board all the way up against the wall here. This thing I actually just screwed right down onto the beam, even though it was way too high. I then screwed the thing from the top, made sure to sink the screws really deeply into the wood, used the laser line as a guide, and then planed the top surface a bunch of times until it was flat. You know what? To be honest, I'm not really sure if that's the best way of doing it, but it worked. Now we've just got a couple more of these braces to go that we'll do right now, a bit more bracing against the walls. And then the structure of this floor should be done. So far so good. The last thing we need to do to finish up the framing for this part of the floor is to make an additional brace that runs on the outside where the walls for the bathroom will sit on top of. I've set up my laser to figure out where the wall for the bathroom will go. It will go right here. So everything behind me is bathroom. I'm gonna start by making some additional braces in the floor here so that the walls will have something nice and solid to stand on top of. I'll also mark where the other wall will go and add a bunch of additional bracing to that as well. As far as I can tell, the frame for this entire room, including the frame for the bathroom walls, is done. Last minute, I decided to move this brace that I'd previously attached a bit lower. Since I was gonna attach a bunch of braces to this, it was way easier to do that now, just in case the floor in the bathroom will be lower than the one in the living room. Now that the frame is done, naturally you'd think that the next step is laying the flooring. But unfortunately, before I can do that, there's a lot of other things that need to happen first. I need to both insulate the floor and run a bunch of electrical in the floor before all of that goes on top. Now, all of that will take a bit of time and planning, so that will have to be for next episode. But I just really want to see what this is gonna look like, and I'm so tired of this dirt. So how about we clean up this place a little bit, get all the unnecessary things out of there. This is only temporary, but I really want to see what this is gonna look like. I've also added in a couple more braces in between these just to give them enough support. This first floorboard I've cut down a little bit shorter so that I've done it right. It'll now land on this first beam so that joint runs over this one. That way I didn't have to add in any extra bracing here. Now the next one should just slot in place. At least if I've done it right. The next one that's gonna go here, that is a full size, and so that the seam is fully supported, I've added in these. All right, let's just add in a couple more just because it's fun. Man, I'm really happy about how well all of these seem to fit together. It means we did a good job at getting all of these nice and flat. Huh? This is literally the first time since we took over the apartment like a month and a half ago that the things we do actually result in an improvement rather than just a bigger and bigger mess with just more dust. Oh, it's moments like these that make it seem possible that this will actually turn into an apartment at some point. Now the next big project is gonna be the bathroom. The plumber will be here on Monday morning to sort out the drains. And then we can also figure out how high the floor can be, so I can work on that. And then of course we've got the entire living room where we need to do exactly the same thing. Rip up all the old flooring, level everything, and then continue this nice and flat floor throughout the apartment. Now while I've been doing this, Will has been hard at work scrubbing the brick wall. So things are definitely starting to happen here. Well, that is it for this video. If you liked it, hit a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell to get notified when the next episode is up. As for now, thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye bye.